What's up, geeks and everyone else? Welcome to Geek Mythology, a podcast brought to you by my good friend Sow.
And Seth here, also known as Sugey on YouTube.
We are back at it again with another episode. Yeah, another episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I always have this problem of not knowing what to start off with.
I mean, what's the date right now in podcast terms and not real life terms? Because we're fiction.
It's
No,
like...
we're not. It's like March, isn't it? April almost.
March.
You say it's Easter.
It's the end of March. Like, it's Easter, like, next week as of the release of this episode, I think. So when you guys are hearing this, it will be Easter holidays, right? Yeah.
Easter
close
break,
to the time.
Yeah. We're currently in the start of our February half term.
Mm-hmm.
That 1 week holiday we get.
It's not even Pancake Day yet. Like,
I need to actually search up some recipes for that. Genuinely, because I do want to make pancakes. I'm gonna make like the British like flat sort of crepe pancakes, right?
I want to make
the
more American fluffy ones because I normally
yeah. I do want to make those too, but I want to make both, just to like try them out.
Anyway,
especially since we don't have school, so
yeah, that's the great thing about this week. We have lots of time to pre-record a bunch of episodes.
And also it allows me to pre-record a bunch of Minecraft content as well.
Yeah.
And give me time to not only do Bed Wars, but also do other games.
So back to Easter, it's Easter soon. And I was just gonna say, do you do anything? Do you do like anything interesting?
I mean, I'm not Christian, so no, not really.
No, do you like just buy chocolate Easter eggs and stuff?
I think I'm never the one who buys them. I think in the past my sister has just gotten something and I just go like, okay, pop it in the fridge and I eat it over the period of like a week.
Yeah, like, do you know what I found interesting? And I didn't know this was a thing until someone like pointed it out. It's apparently that like people like gift each other chocolate Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Like how they gift people like gifts during Christmas. Apparently it's just a thing here in Britain to like buy each other Easter eggs, and I've never done that.
Yeah,
I just didn't know it was a thing, like giving each other chocolate and stuff. So
if I get that, I'm the sort of person who wouldn't eat it all at once, but I'd eat it over like a period of like a week. Just like occasionally, whenever I feel peckish, I'll just go to the fridge, break off a bit of chocolate, have it.
I don't know why you'd want to eat a whole Easter egg at once, though. My sister does that.
You wouldn't.
I don't get it. Like,
why?
You just won't have chocolate for the you're just gonna run out and then.
Also, I do admit now, for some reason, chocolate does sometimes hurt my teeth a little bit, and that might be just me not caring enough for my teeth. But like that's also, it kind of limits me on how much chocolate I can have. This is probably the first time I've actually mentioned it anywhere to anyone. But yeah, it's sort of like that. I think that's also why I prefer Skittles over chocolate nowadays, because Skittles aren't chocolate, and that for some reason that doesn't hurt my teeth.
Do you prefer?
If anybody knows where that is.
Are you a sweets or chocolate person? Like, what do you prefer?
I mean, okay, if we're gonna briefly go over this, chocolate, any type of chocolate, I'm fine with. Dark, I'm a little more skeptical of, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Dark chocolate. But when it comes to sweets, Skittles, they're great. I love them. Everybody knows I love Skittles.
I saw it on Twitter. You were like trading with Skittles.
It's more of a recent sort of thing. Skittles, like in the past year or two, I've just really come to like Skittles. In terms of like gummies, right? Like, do you know Haribo gummies? Like the normal gummies, right?
Yeah.
I like those, right? I'll have those. But sort of, do you know like the gummy babies which have like the hard outside?
I don't like
the hard
those.
dust, yeah. No, I like gummy, like jelly bean sort of textures. I don't like those.
Nah.
It's just I like it when it's like all smooth, like Haribo's, right?
Yeah.
But I can't handle like the jelly bean gummy babies sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's a hard pass.
I mean, I am a chocolate person, I'd say, but I do like some sweets as well. Skittles. Haribos are okay. I'd eat them, but I wouldn't necessarily like
I
choose to buy
think
them.
yeah, I think my favorite are probably straws, if anything.
I quite
You
like
know, like the strawberry
those
chips.
M&S Percy Pigs, but I prefer like the tangy, like Tang Fast stick sort of things, the sour sweets.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
How
that's just
how
my
is
sweet
that?
preference.
Do you
But
know
I
what? Do
prefer
you know some
chocolate.
sweets I think both of us would love to try, and I think it's just in my mind because Ben and Jay from Super Carlin Brothers on Christmas time they made a Jay versus Ben on this, which was just eating all of the Harry Potter
Harry Potter
chocolate.
sweets, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean,
Anyway.
the closest thing I've had to like a Harry Potter sweet thing are like those bean boozles, which are kind of like the
Mhm.
Bertie Bott's every
Yeah.
flavored beans.
Re-
They're kind of the
remember
same
when like
thing.
people, yeah, remember when people would use those a few years back for any type of challenge, you know, just
Mm-hmm.
anything. They'd go like, "Oh yeah, this is the punishment, by the way."
I did a video like many years ago
Did you?
on Bean Boozles. It's not a public video because it's
Oh, yeah.
lots of my early videos are privated now because they're kind of cringe and. Anyway, we tangented. Is that a word? Went on a big tangent.
I don't know.
Like,
I think yeah, you say it like that. There are certain words where you can't say you've done it with an ed, but you can say it in another way that makes the same sense.
it's like
Yeah.
I was talking to someone on Discord like last night about laptop specs, and I wanted to say
Oh,
something like highly
oh,
spec'd, like a highly spec'd, if that's
no,
a
you
word.
just say it is high
It
spec.
is high spec, but like I for some reason put an ed on the end of the word spec and spec, like
Yeah.
short for specification.
Seth, do you know what you're forgetting with the huge tangent
No, what am I forgetting?
about the lullaby for Prince? I'm kidding.
The
It's a joke.
joke. Are you? Okay, okay. Here's the joke. Like before we talk about the topic of today's episode, um, why couldn't the pony sing himself a lullaby or herself? Yeah. Why couldn't they sing a lullaby?
um, why couldn't he?
Um,
Or
because they were
yeah,
a
just
little horse.
ah. Oh, okay. That took me like a second to like realize
It took you a
what
while,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
If I
that
could
was the
say one
joke.
thing quickly
Sure.
with that joke, as soon as I read that, I just thought of like the one song you found on Spotify that you're like, this is okay. The
The
lullaby
Pony
for
song.
Princess.
That
Yeah.
is like a My Little Pony fan song, right? It's an
Yeah,
actually really
it was
good
a fan
song.
made song.
It could like work well in like a Broadway like musical. It's like a great song.
Yeah.
Put it down in the show notes. I do recommend. I mean, like, you don't necessarily have to be a
It
My
doesn't
Little Pony
matter.
fan.
Yeah.
It's just a good song on its own. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean
So
that was just something I wanted to mention because it was like it's literally right there in the joke.
yeah.
Well, it's not part of the joke, but you know what I mean.
Anyway,
Anyway, today's topic.
the
How many times have I said anyway today already?
I think we could have an anyway counter, and it will surprise us to the amount of times we say anyway. What's another word for anyway? Because I was just about to say anyway. Uh,
um,
anyway.
on the other hand, no.
On the
On
other
the other
hand,
hand, it's like
okay.
opposite. No, no,
Back
no.
to the topic of today's
Yeah.
episode. The topic is what is the biggest pop culture phenomena ever, and we're gonna like talk about like what fandom or like movie franchise has had the biggest impact on 21st century culture, if that makes sense. So that's the topic.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
before we move
So like
on,
just like the last 21 years.
yeah, before we like start like getting into the nitty gritty of the best like thing, I want to mention how you started making a list, right? I think it was like
Oh
episode
yeah.
12 or something, you mentioned that you were making a list, and a few months on since then,
yeah.
our list has before it started off as like a list of shows, right? But now it's evolved into a fully blown spreadsheet. Do you want to talk about it?
I think during the last, no, it was a while ago, right? To start where I started, I just wanted to see how many anime I'd seen, mainly because I was making this TikTok about this put your fingers down, and I wanted to see if I'd seen over 50.
Oh, right,
Then I did that on my phone. Then, like, a few months after that, I decided to make a Google Doc. Then that's just been growing since, like, last summer. I made, like, the Google Doc last summer. And then your big brain decided spreadsheets. And I was like, spreadsheets!
Yeah.
And then you made a spreadsheet. And then I was like, hang on, Seth, can I just copy your spreadsheet? And I did. And I modified it for my own needs as well.
So, like, my spreadsheet, yeah, I got inspired by Sow. I wanted to make a list as well, so I made a list of all the shows that I made. And then I was like, I want to see, like, how this translate into hours. So I, like, use spreadsheet.
I on my Google Doc. I decided to try and count how many anime episodes I'd seen on a Google Doc. But just by, like, counting how many, like, series had a certain number of episodes and just doing it on a calculator.
Yeah.
It just whipped out my calculator.
So I did something similar where I counted how many, like, hours I've spent using the spreadsheet because you could calculate stuff on it. And then I took it a step further when I had this spreadsheet from Super Carlin Brothers. They made a video on, like, everything Star Wars. And they made a spreadsheet like where you could tick stuff off, and I'll link down the spreadsheet below. But I took their spreadsheet, which they, like, put out to the internet. I took it, I modified it a bit, and added, like, all the new stuff that they didn't originally have, like the new books and things. And yeah, so I had that Star Wars spreadsheet, like, tick list. But at that point, it was just the tick list, like, to tick stuff off. I decided to, like, add in some, like, calculations, and it took me, like, a couple hours to figure it out. But I managed to get it so that when you, like, tick something off, it, like, adds on a time at the bottom to, like, show you how much Star Wars you've consumed and the percentage of Star Wars that you've consumed. And, like, it just works on, like, the runtime of audiobooks and the average time to read a comic and the, like, how long it takes to watch a movie, and it, like, adds it all up and calculates stuff. So yeah, complicated spreadsheet.
And I copied that. I have the Star Wars section.
Yeah.
But I'm probably never gonna advance into any more than probably the visual media.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I'm personally getting into the books and comics, but
I've made it like a thing that I want to keep up with the High Republic books and comics and maybe watch and read every one of those. But in terms of the other books and comics, I'm not really that fussed. I did talk about last episode about Thrawn, so I am gonna try and read all the Thrawn books because Thrawn is a really interesting character. But other than that,
and other than Star Wars on here, we've got obviously Disney meaning Marvel and Disney and Pixar.
Yeah, we were ticking off stuff for that, Disney movies and things.
And I did notice that your Disney movie section was missing maybe like two films or so. And
it's missing a few.
2 films or like
but also my spreadsheet had this reading list. Which will nicely bring on to the next topic. But yeah, my spreadsheet has a reading list of books that I want to read, and it's nothing too fancy. It's literally just a list of books that I want to read, and a lot of it was Harry Potter. So yeah, Harry Potter. I did finish the series. I did mention this like a few episodes back, but I was thinking I could talk a bit more about Harry Potter in today's episode, seeing as it is one of the franchises that we're going to talk about as part of this biggest cultural phenomenon.
Can I mention one thing quickly about the list there?
Sure.
When I calculated the number of episodes I'd seen, the anime side didn't surprise me too much because I was like, okay, I've seen like 100 anime. It's going to be a relatively big number, right?
Yeah.
Right. But then I went to cartoons, I realized
Okay.
I'd missed like one or two cartoons, and I just calculated it all, and I was like, if I take Pokemon away from my anime side, it would almost be equal with cartoons. Which that kind of blew my mind because I thought I'd seen more anime than cartoon, but it's like only like a few
So
hundred
it's
off.
like almost 50-50.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
no, yeah. I think my cartoons have like 3,100-ish. It's being slow, so I can't exactly look.
Your list is like 1,000 times bigger than mine. Like,
Okay. So in terms of total episodes of anime, I've seen 4,807.
episodes. Jeez.
Yeah,
And then
and then in
each.
terms
Yeah,
of
wow.
cartoons, I've seen 3,470. And Pokemon itself is 1,100. That's why if I take away Pokemon, it would be almost equal.
It's like you've seen like thousands. For me, like a 60 episode Avatar: The Last Airbender was quite a long journey for me. Like, um, yeah. How do you do that? Like,
I don't know.
you don't
I don't know.
do you have a time turner? Do you just
I've been watching things for at least 8 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But yeah, that's all I want
yeah.
to say about that quick. It was just funny to me. But anyway, since we mentioned Harry Potter, that's probably a good place to start in terms of big Western fandom. I
Mm-hmm.
say Western specifically because the East definitely has a lot more. I don't need to mention it. You guys know.
Do you think Harry Potter is more like? Do you think there are more American fans or more British fans?
That's okay. First of all, you have to consider America's like 10 times larger than us, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In terms of population alone, as well, because they're like in the 500 million or something, and we're
Mm-hmm.
60 million
I
or
think they've
so.
got like 5 times or 6 times our population. I think.
Yeah, and then of course, we don't know America, so we don't know how much Americans would like. I don't know these books.
I
I don't
just,
want to sound weird.
I just feel
You know
like,
what I'm trying to say? It's kind of hard to say when you don't know anything,
yeah.
right?
I just feel like
Because
there's a lot of
Harry,
American fans for Harry
yeah,
Potter. I don't know
yeah,
why.
because Harry Potter, like anything that becomes big in Britain, pretty probably becomes big in America, and vice versa, sort of. It's kind of,
It depends. Like, I guess
yeah.
I mean, wasn't The Office originally a British show? I think.
I think it was a German show.
Oh.
I think the
Okay.
Americans took a German show and turned it into their own show. It was like the
Yeah.
premise was German.
Okay. Okay. Well, Harry
I just
Potter.
completely messed
Yes.
around with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
no! Wait,
popular.
wait. You might be right. You might actually be right. It might have been British.
I think Downton
That might be
Abbey
something else I was
is
thinking.
quite popular in America.
Oh yeah.
I think it feeds this stereotype that we all speak posh. Like,
Whoa, Seth, you're right about The Office. It was
is it British?
British. Yeah, no. Whoa. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, like they literally took the British show Office, the premise, and made way more episodes. They made like
Yeah.
how many? They made 200 episodes compared to the 14 that the UK one has.
And then, but like,
So
all the memes are from American Office, I think.
yeah, no, that's because
Yeah.
it's far more popular and it's
Yeah.
far longer.
Also, like, I think American jokes are more universal, I'd say, like American humor. I just feel like with British humor, that maybe like other people won't necessarily
It's very
understand.
much insulting each other sort of thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Like we might find it funny. I mean, not me. I wouldn't say I necessarily find it funny because I don't tend to consume like British comedy. Um, but like certainly like we collectively as British people might find it funny, but I wouldn't know if I wouldn't think like Americans would find British Office as like funny, I guess.
I mean, I didn't know about it till today, so
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, the thing with like Harry Potter, right? It's British, right? It is
Mhm.
British. Like
Yeah.
You can tell it's British, but also it's like it's not like not in terms of school at least. It doesn't like seem. Actually, I say that, but then again, they have their equivalents to GCSEs and A levels.
It's
So
more like a British school than American schools, right? Because it doesn't have the stereotypical like American high school trope where like they hang around by the lockers and what else is there? Like you've got the different type of people, like the jocks and the nerds and stuff. It just isn't there in Harry Potter.
Yeah, no, it like the thing that is there is sort of like choosing your subjects and stuff like that.
Yeah, you've got
like we do stuff like that, but I feel like in America, like
I think you do choose
in
subjects.
high school and stuff. You might. But what? Okay, just one thing, quick. What confuses me about America, or maybe where the weird ones, is they have their maths split into everything like separate lessons, right?
Oh yeah, like algebra is different to like trigonometry. It's all like different subjects. Yeah.
It's just I just find that weird. Anyway, back to Harry
But that's
Potter.
why in America, right, it's
to
math singular, but here because we put them together, it's maths with an S on the end. Anyway, back to Harry Potter. What was your point?
I mean, it's no, I'm still just I don't know because I feel like since America's bigger, it might have more fans? Question mark.
But do you think if we look at a singular fan, would they be like more obsessed or like into Harry Potter because it's like foreign, because it's like different? Like there's something like I just feel like
because it's British.
Because it's British, yeah, that's the point. Do you think they like?
Yeah, I feel like I don't know how many people like because obviously maybe it's because I'm British. I don't see like it's innately British, right? Maybe some language is innately British, like bloody hell. Yeah,
bloody yeah.
Yeah, you know, like Ron's bloody hell sort of thing, you know, or like.
I think Ron is the type of character to swear, but because it's like a kid's book, they just. I think in terms of like profanity, there isn't much apart from what Ron says, and then that pretty cool scene at the end, like where Molly Weasley is like,
yeah. Oh no! Actually, do you know when I first read that?
Yeah.
I was like in year, but I might have even been year 6 or year 5. But even in year 6, I read that line in school, like in the reading corner, right? We have, and I was like, that's a swear word right there. Like, I genuinely think I ran around to some of my friends and I was like, yo, Harry Potter has a swear word in it.
back in those days where like one swear word in one book is like worth talking about.
Whoa.
It's
whoa, calm down there.
It's like I think like year 9 or year 10 English, like a book or extract would have like a swear word, and the teacher would read it out loud, and then it would become like the playground topic for the next 20 minutes.
It's back when, okay, I would say it's back when swearing was a lot more like alien, you know. Like, of course, I swear a lot more now, but when it comes to class, if a book has, you know, a bad word in it, I'd whisper it, like, while reading a book, like, you know, like, last year, or, like, during, like, How to Kill a Mockingbird, it has the N-word in it, right? So, like, I think if I ever came to read that, I'd go, like, I wouldn't say, I'd go,
I
like...
don't remember what, it's a touchy subject, right? Like...
Yeah.
I won't go... Like... I don't remember if it was said or not. I think it was. I don't know. I don't remember.
I feel like some people just went with it, you know. Like, but I would definitely feel weird saying in front of the teacher. But yeah, I don't know. It was a weird question to start with in terms of asking like, is Harry Potter bigger in UK or US?
Yeah, it's interesting, but I was just gonna say
I feel like in terms of
yeah.
Okay, carry on.
I was just gonna say I feel like there is going to be a fascination towards Harry Potter because it's British. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Well, also, I think like with Harry Potter, I feel like, of course, a lot more people would have seen the films than the books as well.
Yeah.
I still think I would say people who have seen all of the Harry Potter films and like still like it 8 years later, even if they haven't read the books, I would still say, yeah, you're a fan.
I mean, like, on the fandom
If you still say
spectrum,
you do like it
if you
now.
still like it now, you're quite into the spectrum of fans. Like, you might like it back in the day, but if you still like it now, yeah, good for you. If you identify yourself by your Hogwarts house.
It's been over 8 years since the last film came out.
Yeah.
So
in terms of like fandom, like if you like the films or like the movies, yeah, you're a fan. But if you talk about your Hogwarts house and say, yeah, I'm a Gryffindor, oh, you're a Hufflepuff, yeah, that brings you up a level to like it's like that. Harry Potter's one of those. It's the only fandom where there's like a mainstream way of identifying yourself, like
an official way.
An official way,
well.
like you can have conversations with people, with your friends, and like talk about your Hogwarts house, but you don't have that with like Star Wars. You don't say, "Oh, are you a Jedi or a Sith?"
You could say, yeah.
That's not really a thing.
Say what you want to be.
But yeah,
and with like, I don't know, with superheroes, I guess some people might talk about whether they'd rather be in DC or Marvel, whether they'd be part of the Avengers or X-Men sort of thing. But like, Harry Potter has that communal thing of like, we have houses.
I think it's like star signs. I think you know how people like identify by their star sign and like they talk about it. I think Hogwarts houses is like equivalent to that. I think people do talk about it a lot.
Yeah, you know something with the houses that I didn't realize that I didn't like clock until this year maybe is of course Hogwarts has houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I was reading it when I was younger, I didn't think too much about it. I was like, it didn't pop into my mind too much, right?
Okay.
But I saw this thing saying Hogwarts has houses because most secondary schools in England has houses.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, we do have houses.
I think
I kind of clock that sort of like, I don't know what the word is, connections between like why it might have houses.
Houses is a British thing, I think. Like, I don't know if American schools have houses.
Yeah, no, and I think the reason I didn't think about it too much is because we don't get some big ceremony telling us what house we're in. It's kind of pre-decided by like the school.
Yeah.
But I don't know. My brain was like, oh, that's why it has houses. Maybe,
If I was a head teacher, I'd want to have a sorting ceremony, even if it wasn't like a sorting hat sort of thing, even if it was predetermined. But like having like this like ceremony where you like reveal the house would be cool. Like, I'd do that. But anyway, I was gonna say, I don't think in America, I don't think they've got houses. I know they've got like, in terms of like sports and things, they'd have like inter-school like football matches. I think like with different schools.
But they may not have like within the school.
But like in Britain and in Hogwarts, you've got inter-house like within the school, like competitions and matches like with Quidditch, or in our school like sports day, like football. There's like inter-house like
but
competitions.
I do feel like Harry Potter has had sort of at least an effect on the wider sort of maybe magical reading, because in the cartoon we watched, the Owl House, right?
They had a sorting hat.
Not even that. Oh yeah, they had a sorting hat, but also they had a golden bug for their game,
like a snitch
as well.
Oh, and it was one of those things where if you catch it, the game ends and you win, like the snitch.
Win. Yeah. Of course, the snitch is a bit more balanced because it's not confirmed you win if you catch it.
It's 100 points.
You only get a certain number of points, right?
So,
but like this one was just funny. I was like, so these, you can tell like the Owl House people, they definitely, somebody there likes Harry Potter.
I think Harry Potter has had a lasting impact in the magical genre of like
You can catch the occasional reference, whether it be the sorting hat or something,
But I'd argue
it's probably the sorting hat.
I'd argue Star Wars has had more of a cultural like impact, because you'd see Star Wars references in almost anything. there's like Star Wars references in Marvel, in the MCU at least. In the MCU, like Ned's Death Star.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like,
because like Star Wars is that one like cultural thing, isn't it?
Yeah. There's like Star Wars references in Wonder, that book about this like genetically, this kid who has like this, was born with this like disability, and he like gets bullied and everything. Yeah, there's Star Wars references in that. There's Star Wars references in anything. So I'd say like Star Wars has also has a giant impact. It has influence in politics. With like I won't.
Oh yeah,
I won't.
Something, isn't it?
I won't dive into this because I don't want to get political, but it gets political. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was something, isn't it?
Ted Cruz made a point on Twitter about Star Wars. That like yeah.
Because I feel like you know Harry Potter's not like the sort of thing that's always going to be talked about by like, it's not like the go-to nerd thing at all times. Star Wars is like, I was going to say, I started reading a new webtoon, right, and it's called Nothing Special, but like the point is that the two main characters are like, they're nerds, right? So like the main thing they reference is like Lord of the Ring, but like they do sometimes mention stuff like Star Wars as well, and it's sort of like, I'd say Star Wars and Lord of the Rings have been the long-lasting sort of cultural sort of things that have just been in the nerd community.
Not gonna lie, I was gonna say yeah. You've got in my opinion, there are three big like franchises. There's Marvel, Harry Potter, Star Wars. In terms of the effect on like 21st century.
In the last, yeah.
I mean, like,
but like, in terms of long-lasting stuff, I just mentioned like, yeah, Lord of the Rings and Star Wars.
Also, another like, I mean, if you go back a few more decades, I'd say like Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah.
They've had like and Jaws. They've had like pretty big influences.
Yeah.
But like, for me, Lord of the Rings is quite insignificant. I don't. Is there a Lord of the Rings fandom now? Like,
I mean, yeah, I see your point.
It kind of died. That's my point. Like, it's not gonna be a thing that generations grow up in. Like, Star Wars is a multi-generational thing already. Marvel,
it's because they don't let it die.
They bring in a new trilogy all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we don't need a trilogy because we've got Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But like, it's just like they're not letting Star Wars.
You've got like,
not now.
Our like parents' generation growing up with the originals. You got millennials growing up with the prequels, and then you've got us, Gen Z and Alpha generation. Like,
yeah, I mean, you literally got into Star Wars because of Force Awakens.
Yeah, I'm in the Gen Z sequel trilogy era of Star Wars. That's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
Like,
I still like, I feel like if you talk to somebody about Star Wars, they wouldn't assume you got into Star Wars because of the sequels, right? They'd just go like, oh, they probably watched it since they were a kid. No, you've been watching it for since
5 years.
Like, since Force Awakens comes out.
I'm not embarrassed. Like, I will proudly say
it's not a bad thing.
Like, there seems to be an element of gatekeeping in the Star Wars community, which I don't like. I stand with the sentiment that the sequels aren't that great. They're not great, in my opinion. But I'm not gonna like. I will say that
them out.
I'm gonna say that yes, this is what brought me in. They're not bad movies. I like them. I do like them.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just don't like them as much.
I mean, I know I might be glossing over this, but I do want to sort of talk about how it's interesting how the MCU and the Star Wars Skywalker saga, they finished in the same year.
2019. Yeah.
Yeah. But do you want to quickly talk about the MCU before we even talk about their
MCU is a
finales,
very
per se?
recent thing, like the past 10 years. I'd say it's less nerdy, it's a bit more mainstream. But like there isn't much outside of the MCU. Like there'll be conversation when there's like a show running or a movie like being released. People will talk about it then, but otherwise, when there isn't new Marvel stuff, it's not like Harry Potter or Star Wars where there's like, I mean, I'm not in the Marvel community, so I don't know if they do talk about
as
it.
well as Marvel, as well as at least the MCU specifically, being really new compared to even Harry Potter, which started in the 90s, right?
But I do know with Star Wars and Harry Potter, you've got people playing games, talking about it, making videos about it, theories, like fan fictions, that sort of stuff. That goes on even if there isn't anything new. But with Marvel, I have the impression there isn't that like there isn't that extra like fandomness.
Past even my interest in Marvel in the cartoons and films, there's going to be the people who grew up with before the films came out, just the comics.
The comics, yeah.
And like the odd cartoons, like the random cartoons that came out. Like So like the Marvel is very right now because of the films. Obviously, its fan base has probably multiplied. Like
it's got a really big fan base now.
Like, and obviously now they're not okay. Like we said, they didn't let Star Wars die over the last 60 years. It's been out
50, 40, yeah, something like that.
They're not letting Marvel have a
break.
Because, okay, they gave it a break between Endgame. Okay, they weren't meant to give it a break. There was meant to be Black Widow that came out last year.
Yeah.
Right? But because it didn't, but now they're pushing it, right? WandaVision is coming out, right?
And there is no break.
End in like March,
it's just this runaway train.
There's going to be a week break between WandaVision and the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Big stonks for
There's
Disney.
Gonna be one week with no Marvel, and like I just wondered, do you know, after Falcon and Winter Soldier is done, how long is it going to be until they start Loki? You know,
yeah.
Like, is it going to be a week or two?
It's non-stop.
And
like
obviously, once cinema starts up, the films are going to start coming in.
Yeah,
pretty sure over the last at least 2 films per year.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot.
They didn't let her have a break over the last 11 years. They're still not letting her have a break now it has shows.
I guess that's what makes these 3 franchises relevant to this time. Marvel is not having a break at all. It's the runaway train of money making.
Not dying.
Star Wars, as much as people want to hate it, like people are watching the new stuff that's coming out.
And people are going to keep showing it to their kids.
Yeah. I know I will.
And then Harry Potter's sort of the weaker one out of the 3, but it's still there.
It's still there.
It has a whole theme park.
It has a whole
based around it.
And the theme park is actually quite successful. Like the Star Wars theme park is interesting, but it's not as the Star Wars theme park was made to compete with Wizarding World.
It's not big,
but it's not as successful as Disney wanted it to be because the sequel trilogy kind of flopped. That's like the reason why.
Also, pandemic now.
Yeah, but Harry Potter has a theme park. The Fantastic Beasts series is there. It's not that successful, but it's there.
Oh yeah, no, I was thinking like, what new Harry Potter media is still coming out today?
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts.
That would be when Fantastic Beasts continues, right?
Yeah.
But like once Fantastic Beasts continues, like there's
a rumored HBO TV show for Harry Potter.
I think so to talk about Harry Potter again, but it's sort of like I think the other thing Harry Potter holds is it's sort of like you want to give your kids a good book to read that will get them into reading. Harry Potter is a decent place to start.
It's magical. Like how many everyone wants to be a wizard and go to Hogwarts as a kid.
I mean, of course, I think the Harry Potter book series finished around 2008, right?
Yeah.
But like I was reading it in like 2015 to 14, right? That's when I started reading it. And even like 2 or 3 years ago on the bus, I saw somebody from our school reading Goblet of Fire. And I'm just like, I saw that and I was like, people are still reading that? Like, genuinely, I had a thought was like, this guy's reading the Harry Potter series now. And
the thing
sort of
is,
thing,
with Star Wars and Harry Potter,
yeah,
it's kind of timeless. But maybe with Marvel, the older movies might die out. I don't know. I just feel like it will. Because
I think what the thing what Harry Potter holds is that Harry Potter has two mediums to consume it through, right? Because obviously Star Wars has the extra books,
but no one
those
reads
are
them.
like completely separate from the films, right? Well, Harry Potter, you can watch the films, but then you can like watch the films, and you can hear about the books, and you can make your choice of whether you want to read them. You know,
Yeah.
sort of thing. And so like Harry Potter is just the sort of thing that like it doesn't only hold itself in just story, right? It holds itself in a way that I think even teachers would say, "Oh, you want to get into reading? Harry Potter."
Yeah.
You know.
That brings me on to the next. It's still related to the biggest cultural phenomena ever. But it's about the experience. Like, we grew up during the Marvel experience. We weren't there for Harry Potter. We weren't there as the Harry Potter movies came out, but we were definitely there
as the Star Wars films came out.
We were there for the Star Wars sequel trilogy, but not for like the rest. Like, if we were there for the Star Wars as a whole, we'd be old.
Yeah.
We'd be like
we were sort of like the aftermath of Harry Potter. Like, I remember seeing the posters for Deathly Hallows Part 2,
but we were too young, I guess.
At that time. I was like, yeah.
We were like 8.
I mean, like, we were like 8, yeah.
Yeah. So we grew up during the Marvel era, I'd say, the MCU and / sequel trilogy. And I was watching these videos on YouTube that were recommended to me of audience reactions when Deathly Hallows was playing for the first time. And you know those moments with like Snape's memories where Snape got his like redemption almost.
Oh yeah.
And we
never got to see it in cinemas and stuff.
The reaction of the people watching it. The reaction of people watching it, and these people grew up with Harry Potter. It's so heartwarming to see them react. Like, we didn't grow up with that. We didn't grow up with.
Oh, I feel sad now.
Yeah.
I feel sad I couldn't watch it in cinemas.
We didn't have the experience of growing up with Harry Potter and going on the journey.
The thing is, I feel like, I feel like, do you know Deathly Hallows Part 2?
Yeah.
I feel like it definitely has a different feel to Rise of Skywalker and Endgame, right? It probably has a very different feel to like those two films as finales, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to say it. It just I know when I think about it, I feel like Deathly Hallows would have been different to watch compared to maybe because Endgame and Rise of Skywalker are big action films, right? While Harry Potter isn't innately action per se. Sure, it has wizard dueling, but it's not like punch, sword, clash, boom.
Yeah.
If I made that
I like wizard dueling though. It's not. It's a different take on a duel. But anyway. We grew up with the Marvel, like we watched Endgame in cinemas.
Yeah, we've grown up with that.
What was your experience of Endgame? Like,
oh yeah, I actually went with a friend.
You went on opening night, right?
Yeah, I went opening day, and it was interesting because I was meant to go with more of my friends, but I went with this one guy who I talked to quite a good bit. Like,
what was the atmosphere in the movie?
It was definitely. I'm trying to think about it. I feel like it might have been a bit more like
normal people
than Rise of Skywalker, you know. Like I know I saw somebody in a Peter Quill cosplay in a Star Wars.
There were cosplays, okay, but like
at least that one guy.
In terms of like the references and like the time traveling and the nostalgia, even though it's like past, it's only like it's not. I wouldn't say it's nostalgia, but In terms of like
I feel like
references.
it is weird because when I think about cinemas, I can either think about the really quiet cinema or the ones where people are shouting, right?
Yeah.
And like, I feel like this was sort of like the moment when I feel like I could hear a few breaths being like taken in at certain moments, right? But
Yeah.
like, I've never had the cinema experience where people have been shouting, like, oh yeah, go, yeah, sort of
Yeah.
thing. But it was, I mean, I feel like at least the people I was watching with were probably a bit more cultured than the people watching Rise of Skywalker. I
Yeah.
think.
When I watched Endgame, there was like a few. There weren't any cosplays, but there were people laughing and having vocal, audible reactions to
Yeah.
like certain things, which was similar to
I
the
feel like
video
that
I watched
it's
of Harry
good. It's
Potter.
good because like you don't want people shouting, right?
Yeah.
But it's nice to hear other people sort of enjoying moments, like especially if you also find those funny, right?
Yeah. I
Like,
do remember. I think a couple people in the screen I was watching. I think they were drunk. They weren't like aggressive, but they were drinking and
yeah.
like
I
anyway.
was gonna say I would just a brief sort of tangent quickly about cinemas, right?
Okay.
Because nowadays they're big. It's sort of like on this one Trash Taste podcast, they talk about how Japanese cinemas are really quiet, like silent, dead silence, right?
Okay.
And then they talked about how their experience with like they described like British cinemas as like people will be like shouting, go like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's a great moment." And I've never had that, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely good to have like to hear the audible reactions of people around you, especially for films like Endgame and Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
It was just I know I've had some moments where I'm the sort of person if I'm watching with somebody, I want to turn to them and go like, "Dude, did you see that?"
Did you see that? So yeah,
Yeah.
I also watched another video on YouTube of like the audience reaction to the Deathly Hallows trailer, and it is quite
Oh,
similar to the audience reaction of the Rise of Skywalker trailer. Because the
really?
Rise of Skywalker trailer was, I did find it really exciting and hopeful, and the reactions to it were. The reaction to the trailer was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! That's so cool! Look at that!" People getting hyped.
Uh,
But then when we watched Rise of Skywalker, I don't know what happened to all that hype, but it just didn't seem like the
I
people
mean,
were Star Wars fans. Which isn't maybe
I feel like, does it feel like they were there out of obligation to see Star Wars?
they they just seem too casual. Like maybe if we went to like a premiere, or like
Yeah.
we went to a specific screening where we had Star Wars nerds come,
I
the
feel
atmosphere
like
would be different.
the biggest fans, if they had the money, they'd go like the night, like as soon as it turned 12. But of course, we couldn't do that on that
No,
specific
yeah.
day, and I doubt my
Also,
mum
we
would have
had
let me anyway.
exams. We had exams.
Yeah.
Like we
It was
watched.
like an exam thing, but like I think we've mentioned this before. There are two moments I can remember with my sort of reaction. Right, the first one was Palpatine saying "Do it," and like
No one laughed. I'm
our
surprised.
row of like four people, right? We were like, "Oh, he said it," and I turned around. I think I feel like I don't remember. I feel like I turned around. I was like, "Nobody else,
No one
just
else got the
us."
reference. Also, there was
And
another
of
bit
course,
where Luke Skywalker was lifting the X-wing, which was a callback to Empire Strikes
oh
Back, and no one else like.
yeah.
It just seemed the atmosphere was so
To be fair,
different.
not even I clocked that at the time. To be honest.
Yeah.
So no, I what I was gonna mention is the orange lightsaber moment. You know what I mean? Where like I was like popping like I don't know, probably a skittle or popcorn into my mouth, and as soon as I did that, as soon as I was about to swallow
You
it,
choked.
Ray like turns on her lightsaber. It's orange, and I'm just like, it's orange, it's orange. It's the most moment where I shouldn't have choked, right? It's like the most like it's one of the moments where like why would you choke during a lightsaber igniting, right? But
Hmm.
I was just so surprised of it being orange, right?
Do you think?
Because like
Yeah.
over that past year, orange lightsabers have become like, oh, it's that thing. It's like, oh, it's the orange lightsaber sort of thing, and I was like,
I
I
can
just happened to like pop something into my mouth at the exact time.
I
So
can imagine like the exact same thing happening to people watching Darth Maul ignite his second blade.
Oh
Because
yeah,
I
no,
think
that's
that
true.
was very unexpected back in the day. I
Yeah,
think people would have
it was just
choked.
it was poor. It was poor timing of me eating my food, but it's also a hilarious memory
Yeah.
now as well.
My memory is having a French exam that day, and then immediately as the exam ended, rushing to the cinema to watch Rise of
Oh
Skywalker.
yeah, it was
Anyway,
really like fun because like we just went in our school uniform as well.
yeah.
It was really kind of funny.
But anyway, the point was the atmosphere for Harry Potter was, I'd say it was watching from the
Similar.
videos at least. I kind of envy those people. I wish I grew up and experienced
I yeah, it is.
the Harry Potter like story with them.
At least the final film,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
least.
Um, with Marvel, as I said before in many episodes, I never kept up with Marvel, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to
Yeah,
watch
like
it now.
I think for me, I always loved we've mentioned this hundreds of times, but I've always loved Spider-Man. So I watched those cartoons a bit growing up. Then like the Avengers Assemble cartoon came out, and that's how I got into Marvel, like mainly because of the cartoons. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, this is cool.
like
And it's like
I
then
just watched Endgame,
I yeah I
and
do
I
remember
didn't care too
when
much.
I oh yeah you like how many films had you seen before watching Endgame?
Like a few, but I didn't get any references in the
Yeah,
movie. Like the
okay.
nostalgia, the references, it just completely went over my head when I watched
Oh,
Endgame.
oh, do you know what's funny? Actually, now that I think about it, I think the time I got into the MCU was with Civil War, right, in 2016.
Mm.
And genuinely, I think it was Spider-Man who enticed me into watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the first film Spider-Man shows up, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, so the MCU has Spider-Man now, does it? I'm in. I'm in.
And then back to Star Wars. We watched it, and I'd say we
Yeah,
definitely,
I say we've grown up with it. I've
yeah,
grown up with it. We've
I'd say
grown up
we
with it.
grew up with
Yeah,
it to an
yeah,
extent.
we grew up with it
Um,
to an extent.
so yeah, what would you say had the biggest impact
I mean,
though?
I did grow up with Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah,
That's for
yeah.
sure. Because I did watch as it came out. But which one has had the biggest impact out of these three we've talked
This is
about?
gonna be the thing we will wrap up with today's episode because this is a very long episode.
Yeah,
We won't have time for anything
and it's
else.
what podcasts are about,
Yeah,
tangents and stuff.
tangents,
Which
circumferences.
one of these three is the biggest, like in total, all together?
I don't know.
That's a toughie. Okay, I'd say as of 2021, right? The one with the longest standing legacy that will definitely continue for years to come is Star Wars, right?
Yes, yeah, and it's not
Absolutely.
exactly
Like
gonna
that's the
die.
one thing I know for sure that people will be like, yeah, 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 yeah.
It's there's a bunch of new shows coming out. They're building up something new with the High Republic. Who knows? Maybe the High Republic will become like a new saga.
Saga.
Maybe, maybe not. But I think if there's a new saga, um, it will definitely bring in another wave of fans and another wave of growing up with something. Because with Harry Potter, like
And
people grew up
I
with
feel
Harry
like Harry
Potter.
Potter, right? Yeah.
That's it.
I feel like you can still grow up with Harry Potter, but to a different extent. Because like, say like, I still feel like at least in Britain, right? We're always like encouraged to read books when we're children, right?
But
And so like, I feel like Harry Potter will still be put out there as like this is a good book to read as a child.
the current generation wouldn't there wouldn't be so much conversation about Harry Potter as there was
Yeah.
back then
Do you
in
know
the
what? I was gonna
2000s.
say, how much are the new generations gonna be reading? You know,
I hope they
in
read
general,
because
you know.
books are
I hope they
nice.
do.
Like,
Books are nice. Yeah, I like books are just sort of like, especially if you're in the school library, it's the random things you find and you end up enjoying. You know, it's like,
yeah,
oh, this cover interests me. It's like films, they're advertised heavily. You're like trailer one, trailer two, teaser trailer, first look. You know, oh, like they're like built up to it over many years. But I feel like for books, like you know, when you have a film, right? Even if it's an old film, right? You go ahead, watch the trailer sometimes and see if you want to watch that film. But with books, all you've got is the blurb, unless you go and find reviews, right? And it's sort of, you can't really do that in the middle of school and stuff like that, if you know what I mean. You just find a book in the library, you start reading it. It's very different.
Yeah. So,
Harry Potter's sort of the thing that would just be there.
It's just there
and then
now,
the
but like
just like MCU's like big films, you know.
It's something to talk about.
Yeah, and it's probably a very like common thing rather than Star Wars, because like superheroes are just like children like superheroes, you know. Like superheroes are always there when you're a child, whether you're a boy or a girl.
I can't answer this question. Like, which one has the biggest impact? Because they don't exactly impact the same thing. Like with Harry Potter, you've got the Hogwarts houses, which is like a cultural like conversation topic. Star Wars.
I feel like if we were gonna say, instead of just impact, which one is the biggest, definitively, right?
Okay.
With our whatever knowledge we have, Harry Potter is immediately knocked down. Right?
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, we can
between
rule that down.
MCU and Star Wars. Currently, for some reason, I'm like leaning towards MCU being currently bigger than Star Wars.
Okay, I'd say Star Wars is big in America, but worldwide, I think MCU is because Endgame is the most popular, or at least box office wise.
I feel like I was gonna say this is just a really obscure thing to say, but like in this one manga series called My Hero Academia, the protagonist is basically being built like Spider-Man. Like the author is building his like new powers like Spider-Man, which is like that's like sort of like superheroes even influence other cultures like shows and stuff, right? Like My Hero Academia is literally one big series about superheroes. Like everybody has superpowers, right?
Yeah.
And like the thing is, like, just the brand of superhero isn't limited to Marvel, and that helps Marvel, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you can have superheroes in anything, right?
Another thing that helps Marvel is the fandom's less toxic. I think. There aren't people arguing about.
I'm still sort of one, like, even now I'm not that big into fandoms, but I can sort of. I think from what little I delve into on Twitter and TikTok, from the few people I follow,
But
I feel like I do follow like the nicer people. You know?
Anyway, we're gonna end this episode soon. So the answer to what is the biggest pop culture phenomena thingy, whatever ever, it's are we saying Marvel?
I'd say I'd lean towards Marvel in the current time.
I mean, Star Wars is also pretty popular. Like,
and in terms of how it's going to draw in new people to watch it, like Marvel can easily draw in kids more than like something like Star Wars can, I think.
But Star Wars has kids shows like Rebels and Clone Wars.
But the thing is, like, Star Wars definitely has like the parents are going to be like, so you're 12 now. You know what I mean? It's time to say.
Yeah, when you're 11, if you don't get your Hogwarts letter, you're gonna get inducted into. If you don't get your Hogwarts letter at 11, expect your parents to shove Star Wars down your throat, assuming that they're fans.
Yeah, I think what is funny is just like I wonder how different people will show their kids these things, because I know I've seen some jokes about like you show your kids like Infinity War, right? But then you tell them they got to wait a year for Endgame.
But like, imagine Endgame and Infinity War are like these like. Okay, I'm tangenting off. I need to end this episode soon. My final point before we end is what was I gonna say? How like our parents' generation would show us the Star Wars movies from the 70s and 80s. And we think that's really old. That's ages ago. Look how bad the movie is.
Oh, I think I know what you're coming up to.
Imagine like our kids, like born in the 20s and 30s, watching a movie from 50, 60 years ago. That's like us watching a movie like a World War II movie.
When you think about it, the thing is with that Endgame, right? It's super well made. Like they literally created a whole war scene with like hundreds of aliens and stuff, right? And yet, maybe in 60 years from now, we're gonna be like, like we're gonna have techniques that like make like that. It's gonna make Endgame's war scene look like Obi-Wan versus Vader in A New
Oh
Hope.
my! But like, imagine our kids' generation watching the OG Star Wars movies because we want them to watch everything Star Wars, right? It's gonna be like us watching black and white stuff in black and white. Like, do you think they'd still find it interesting? Anyway, that's the final thought for you guys to ponder on. Comment down below, or like,
what do you guys think is the biggest thing right now?
Or join our Discord. Link in the thing below.
Discord?
If you want to like, because there's just so much to talk about in this topic. Like, we could go on for another 2 hours, but if you do want to like talk more about this conversation, in the Discord, link below, join the Discord.
And if you're listening to us on YouTube, subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, follow, and any other streaming platform, do whatever it is.
We're available on we're available on Spotify, Apple, bunch of other stuff. I'm trying to get us on Amazon Music, because we were we also upload every 2 weeks on Friday around midday, I believe. Yep, every 2 weeks Friday, and we'll see you in the next one. And also, if you have any questions, you want to ask us anything, be sure to tell us in the Discord or in the comments, because we do answer your questions, providing that we don't go on tangents too much and we have time for a question.
I feel like we need to organise these episodes a bit more, and we'll try and do more talk about a few other things rather than the main topics, just to make it a bit more interesting. You know?
So thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Have a good day.